It's just very strange and completely unsolved. I mean, what happened to her? Why would she speed up? Here's a woman that was deathly afraid of snakes, so she's not going up in the woods. So what happened? There was no sound. There's no evidence of blood or violent struggle or anything like that. All we know is she disappeared. Morning, guys. I am here just about in Swain County, standing at the Tuckasegee River, and it is a beautiful, beautiful morning here in the Smoky Mountains. And I've got a great story that I'm going to tell you about Pauline Melton, who went missing years ago in the Smoky Mountains. This private campground that I'm driving through is most likely where Polly and her husband and her friends all gathered for the summer. And they'd spend several months here, and they would take walks every day, the weather permitting. Nice little campground, and now I'm going to head into the park And as you're driving in, you can see the little trail right there on my right. That is Deep Creek Trail, which you can walk beside the road for a while. And then once you get down in here, it goes along the river, but the gate is closed, so you can't drive any further. I'm standing right next to Deep Creek. It's running through the Deep Creek campground and some picnic areas. And back in 1981, September 1981, Thelma Pauline Melton, who at the time was 58 years old, went hiking with her two friends, Trula and another Pauline who everybody called Red. So those three ladies decided to hike from the private campground where I showed you. I pulled in, drove around that a little bit, and Pauline and her husband, and there were about 10 other guests would come to this to a campsite, this private campsite, and they would spend most of the summer, all the way up through October. So, and they hiked just about every day that it wasn't raining and they could do that. And one of their favorite trails was this trail right here. It's an easy trail on the Deep Creek Trail. So I'm going to head on up here. Now the campground is probably about a mile, where the private campground where they were at is probably about a mile and a half from here, from the point that I'm standing at right now. So if we walk up here, let's go see. And this trail, you know, runs right along the road, but then I'll get you to the actual trailhead of the Deep Creek Trail here in just a minute. As the three ladies were hiking, there were several people that they noted were swimming in the creek and things like that, because the campground is right over there. But the trail continues. At this point on the trail, vehicles are no longer allowed, but it's a nice wide path, as you can see. And this is where Polly went missing. So we're going to walk up here about a half a mile and I'll show you. The three ladies, they were together the whole time until the very end. But just to tell you a little bit about Polly, she had been married twice before, and then she remarried later to her husband, Robert Melton. Now, at the time of Polly's disappearance, Robert was 78 years old, not in great health, and Polly was 58, and they'd been married about 6 years. So a lot of people said, you know, Polly was depressed and down, but on this day, she seemed pretty happy and upbeat, like the girls. They were having a good day. It was a beautiful day. Now, according to the Unsolved Disappearances in the Great Smoky Mountains by Juanita Baldwin and Esther Grubb, who do a great job of telling this story, they say that Polly was about 6 feet tall. They said she might be what you would call, back in the old day, an Amazon woman, but she was just a tall and strong built woman. I think she weighed about 180 pounds. And so she's not going to go where she doesn't want to go. Let's put it that way.
That was what I needed. The more I felt drowning in doubt, needed to see a way out somehow. Give me a reason, give me a change, give me something to love, at least something I can make sense of. Give me freedom.
All right, so at this point, this was the end of the trail. And you've got the Deep Creek Horse Trail, Tom Branch Falls, parking's the other way. But this is where the ladies would turn around. I'm assuming, I could be wrong. It won't be the first time. But shortly, and even if they had proceeded up the trail here along the creek, at some point they turned around and headed back towards the camp. And when they started walking back, Polly all of a sudden started quickening her pace, and she just walked really fast away from Red and Trula. But the girls, you know, they didn't want to try to keep up, and they figured, well, she can't do that for long because she smokes 2 packs of cigarettes a day. And even though she seemed like she's in pretty good health, they figured that they'd catch up to her, or they'd find her sitting somewhere along the trail, and that would be that. Well, they continued on. They never caught up with Polly. And they got back to their campground where their trailers were, and they went straight to her husband Robert. Told him, you know, hey, was Polly here? What's going on? Where did she show up? And he's like, no, I hadn't seen her. And they got their husbands, so they all three started searching the whole area, went up on the trail, searched. And that went on for about an hour, and they came back. They called the ranger service. They brought the rangers in. They began a search. Now, since the trail, once you get back off of this gravel road, it ends up on a road where vehicles can travel. And so the bugs are beginning to bite. But anyway, so at this point, they started calling everybody they could think of that Polly knew. Trula and Red began calling everybody that they could think of that Polly might have gotten a ride from. And they called. Nobody said they had seen her or anything. So it really, really started becoming very concerning to them. Park ranger got like 25 people together and began searching all the trails intersecting this area off of Deep Creek Trail. And they searched and searched, and they searched until dusk. The rangers talked to every person in the campground and asked if they had seen anything unusual, had they seen Polly or anything like that. No one they talked to had seen anything. So the searchers, even at dark, they took out bright flashlights and searched up and down the creek, flashing it into the water to see if they could see anything, or off the trail. So they even worked through the night. No one saw her. No one saw anything. The ranger also asked Robert and Trula and Red and if Polly had been acting any, unusual that day. And no one said no, nothing Polly had done all day was unusual. The only unusual thing was when they got to the turnaround point, she just started sprinting off. Not sprinting, but walk sprinting. And it was so typical of a day that before she went on her walk with the girls, she made her spaghetti sauce, took a nap, and then headed off with the girls. They were probably planning to have dinner together that evening, and they all loved it, and they all talked to each other and just had a good time. But then Polly disappears. So the other thing I was talking about was that once you get off the gravel road and onto the paved road, you know, somebody could have picked her up. But I can guarantee you one thing, that they would have a hard time picking up Polly and putting her in a car and taking her off and nobody ever seeing or hearing or anything. Some people had speculated that, hey, maybe she, you know, her and Robert were not doing great. Maybe she just wanted to leave. And her friends and family, all friends and family that I talked to said she would not have done that. Oh, this is cool. So I've got a little butterfly that landed on my GoPro and I can't turn it around. Maybe I can get him on my finger. But anyway, but it's pretty. So anyway, they called everybody they knew that she knew, and not a lot of people because they were from Florida. They would just come up here and spend the summers because it was a lot cooler. They'd head back to Florida in October. And so it's just very strange and completely unsolved. I mean, what happened to her? Why would she speed up? Here's a woman that was deathly afraid of snakes, so she's not going up in the woods. So what happened? There was no sound. There's no evidence of blood or violent struggle or anything like that. All we know is she disappeared. You know, there has been speculation about what has happened to Polly. Even there was some kind of bank transaction that happened about, I would say, about 6 months after she went disappearing. The bank teller didn't remember who signed the check or anything. Of course, they probably didn't have cameras back in the day. And handwriting analysis is not much proof of anything if you don't know the person who might be suspected of doing it. Also, that night, Robert became so distraught and emotional that they had to admit him to the hospital. He didn't have a great heart, and he had slight emphysema, so he wasn't doing good. Then after Polly disappeared, he just left the campground. I think he sold the trailer and moved back to Florida and lived out his life, but he didn't live very long and passed away in Florida. This is the third video that I've made about missing people in the Smokies that disappeared without a trace, and there's no real evidence as to what happened. We just don't know about Pauline Melton. Could she just got in the car with someone near the picnic area and vanished forever and leaving everything she owned behind? What else? Could she got beamed up? Could it have been some large predator like a Bigfoot or something like that? We don't know. and I'm not going to speculate. I just wish the family of Polly the very best, and those relatives are still living. I'm sure they are still wondering what might have happened to her, and we don't want to speculate. I've tried to give you just the facts that I've seen from David Paulides and from this book that I mentioned earlier by Juanita Baldwin and Esther Grubb.